I'm going to be drawing an eye, really similar to this one. I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller, I think. Let's see. So I'm going to leave it right there so you can see it. I'm going to be using an ebony pencil, it's called. But if you have just any regular pencils at home, that's fine too. This one's just a little darker, so it's easier for you to see. I also have a sharpener, an eraser, and a tortillon, it's called, which is really just a fancy piece of paper rolled up with a tip on it. So if you don't have any of these at home, that's totally fine. You can either use a paper towel to kind of smudge, or you can just use your finger. All right, so I'm gonna start by making, I'm gonna draw very lightly at first before adding any shading or anything. I'm gonna do this nice curved shape, the top line of the eye. And sometimes I like to practice, just get the motion. Now over here in the corner of your eye, there's a little triangle dip. So I'm just gonna make a nice little triangle there. And then it kind of comes down. So now to do the second part of the eye, the bottom, it's kind of like the shape of, I don't know, this is like a football, an almond. Everybody has different shaped eyes. Now over here, I don't like how it's such a point, so I'm gonna make mine, oh, there we go. Wanted it a little rounder. And here I'm gonna fix up that line a little bit. Okay, now there's this line. If you look behind the eyelashes, there's this eyelid line, and I'm gonna put that just a little bit above the top of the eye. And that does make it look more realistic. It's gonna make it look like an eyelid, especially when we add the shading. Those eyelashes, those are gonna be the last thing we do. And actually, I could put some on the bottom. I never did that. Let's put in the actual eye. And if you look, this also helps make an eye look more like a real eye. Do you see how the whole circle is not shown? That's because this circle, it's inside your head. So the top part you can't see because the eyelid's covering it up. So I'm going to start at the top and draw a circle. But I am only really drawing half of a circle. And you don't want it to come too far down here. So I left some space for the eye. And right in the middle of that, I'm gonna put my pupil. And you know, while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna put inside the pupil a nice little, two little shapes for reflections. And I don't have like a good reason for these shapes. Just a nice little rectangle over here and a nice little circle. Because honestly, every time you see a reflection, they're going to turn out differently, right? So we're going to do some shading around the eye right now, starting with this eyelid. Because around the eye is just as important as the eye. It makes it look like an actual person's eye. So I'm going to go back to this eyelid line that I drew, and I'm going to kind of make it a little bit darker. And I'm going to start shading underneath it. So the line itself should be the darkest spot, and then I'm going to color or shade underneath it a little bit lighter than the line. And I'm keeping my pencil directions all in the same direction. I'm also going to put that nice light color right above the eye. So my shading is touching where I drew the eye. But if you look, in between this shading under the eyelid and this shading above the eye, there's some white space. So leave that alone. And then I'm going to also put some shading underneath the eye. And over up on the sides. Not too dark. Then I'm going to take my Tortillon, and I like to start at the dark spots. So the eyelid is the darkest spot right now. And I'm just moving it back and forth. It blends all the graphite together so it looks nice and neat. And you want to kind of push it around. You don't want to stay right where you drew the pencil lines. You want to kind of move it, push it further out. So let's say I do this. And you see that white space between the shading that we did? It's not perfectly white anymore because I'm pushing that pencil around. And so now it's a light, light, light spot of gray, which is good. That's what you want. And you know, if you were drawing a full face, we would keep shading outside here, but since we're just going to work on an eye right now, you can kind of push that pencil around till it makes a light, light, light gray, and then you can stop. So again, I'm still going in the same direction as the eye, like this nice curve. Just back and forth. Over on the sides, I'm kind of extending a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to do, so nothing crazy. That's just a little bit of extra. Now we're going to move inside the eye, the white spots. But you see the whole outside edge of this eye is pretty dark because that is, I don't know what it's called, but inside your eye, I guess it's another eyelid or the skin of your eye. So I'm going to go pretty dark right now around this bottom. And we're going to create like this little lip in your eye. You're going to do it at the top too. And right in here, we're going to put a little circle, that pink part in your eye. For now, you can skip the pupil. We'll go back to that. Now, once you've outlined it, I'm going to go back with a little light shading right next to it. Because we don't want just a line. We want that dark line, and then we want more. We want to get lighter and lighter as we move into the eye. So guess right along the edges, we wanted it to be dark. That's our little lip. But then as we move into here, the white spaces of the eye, we don't want it to be perfectly white. We want it to gradually get white. So you're starting dark on the edge. Right now I'm moving my pencil around, or I'm moving my graphite around in the same direction because I want that nice light gray. And then eventually it will be white because, you know, you run out of that graphite. There's nothing to push around anymore. If you need to go back with your pencil and touch up some spots. And sometimes those lines we draw, the hard lines with the pencil, they're not gradual enough for me, or they're not subtle enough. So I like to go back and kind of fan it out. So that's what I just did right there. All right, but that's pretty good. So it's a really, really light gray. It's basically white. Now we're gonna do the eye, but we're gonna leave these details out for now. So right under this eyelid, that's gonna be the very, very darkest spot on, well, actually I shouldn't say that. I guess the pupil is the darkest. So right under here, I'm pressing pretty hard with my pencil. I want it to be nice and dark. And then to fill in the rest of the eye, we also want around here to be pretty dark. And we want to remember to keep this looking like a round circle. So it looks realistic. You don't want it to look flat. So do you see how I'm keeping the shape of the circle? So over here, I'm kind of moving my pencil this way. Over here, this way. Because if you went, back and forth, lines like this, that's not going to look like an eye. So you want lines like this. So around there is dark. And then I'm going to keep adding shading, but it's lighter now. And do you guys see all those pencil lines, how they're curved and they're shaped with the circle? We're following the curve. So right here and right here, they're kind of straight up and down lines, and then once you get to the sides, they're moving out and curving. So it looks a little, it looks kind of messy right now, but we're gonna take our tortillon. And we are going to continue to blend those lines, and I'm gonna keep working that same curve motion so it looks more like an eye. We don't want to go straight back and forth. We want to keep it in the same direction as this eye. So that circular motion. And it's important to keep the edges nice and clean. You don't want any of the dark pencil to go out into the white space that we just worked really hard on. So keep it nice and neat inside the eye. Might have to press down harder with your tortillon. Now, it's looking a little messy still for me. I'm gonna go back with my pencil, and there's a few spots that I'm just fanning out a little bit. So I'm just making it a little more subtle of a transition. So instead of the lines kind of abruptly stopping, you add a little more pencil so it gradually fans out. And once you have that the way you like it, oh, and you know what? If you take, I have this kneaded eraser, but any eraser will do. I want to make a nice little highlight right here. So I'm gonna just erase a little bit of that pencil just to make this spot really stand out. I'm gonna go back with my tortillon and kind of fill in around that. But that also helps make this look like a real eye, or make it look round, because there is a light spot right there. And we are gonna go in right now and put some lines just for some details. I like to start at the top, and we're gonna make pretty dark stripes, I guess, in your eye. So starting from the center and moving out, and you're kind of following that shape of the eye. So we're going in a circle. We're making some of mine, there's some long, there's some shorter than others. But they're starting from the pupil and they're kind of working their way out. And they've got a little bit of a curve to them. So on this side, they're curved like this, and they're gradually getting to turn as they go this side of the eye. So it really just depends on the shape you have. And then I'm just going to leave those alone. I'm not going to do any tortillon or any blending. Now I'm going to just color in the pupil nice and dark. And again, we're leaving those little reflection lines. I'm using my tortillon just to kind of make sure I didn't miss any spots. I want it to be super, super dark. I left those 2 spots alone for the reflections. And the only thing I want to do now is add eyelashes. And I've always kind of had a hard time with eyelashes, but around the sides of the eye, they should be shorter. And as you get to the middle of the eye, they should be longer. It's okay if they kind of overlap in front of each other. But I always start, like instead of starting up here and coming down, I like to start at the eye and go out and up. So let's see, I'm gonna start over here on the left. Small line. I'm gonna put a few, so they've got to be curved, just like we talked about these lines in the eye had to be curved. The eyelashes, they need to go in a certain direction. So in the middle, there's one kind of this way, there's one straight, and I'm gonna do the other side. So I'm gonna do it over here on the side. In the middle of the eye, in the pupil, right above the pupil, there should be an eyelash that's pretty straight. There should be one on the left that's curved this way, and one on the right that's curved this way. And then following that, your other eyelashes should bend that same way. And this is kind of, I don't know, this has always given me a lot of trouble. I don't love eyelashes. And you don't want them to all be the same. You don't want them to be too rigid, because then they are not going to give that effect of real eyelashes. Because as you know, there's a million eyelashes, and you can put them on as thick as you want. The more you put, the thicker they're going to look. So it could look like a girl with makeup or a guy. Again, they're getting nice and short over towards the edge here. And they all kind of have this nice curve to them. They're longer in the middle. I'm switching to the left side now, so my direction of the curve is changing. I'm overlapping some of them. Kind of got the hang of it now. And you know, if you drew an eye that was kind of off to the side, all your lashes might do this. But since we're looking straight on at this, I think that's the best way to go about it. All right. If you want to try some eyelashes down here, you're going to start at that eyelid and they're coming out. These ones, they should be pretty short, the bottom eyelash. But again, this time I'm curving them like this. And they're gradually gonna get straighter and then move the other direction. And you know, if you want to try really long, crazy eyelashes, I kind of want to see how they turn out. But that is, I think my eye is going to be finished right now. But again, I really do want to see what you guys come up with, so send me pictures, okay?